We typically talk about every day that we have this opportunity to get up and we get to choose how we live our day. We get to choose how we spend our time. And so we call this our line of choice. And we can choose to either be what we call above the line or below the line. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Below the line, there are three words. Call them out for me here. Blame, excuses, denial, right? Blame, excuses, and denial. Folks that live below the line tend to use those three words or descriptors of how they come about their work. They use blame, excuses, and denial. You know, I told you my son's a 15-year-old, right? So he's in 10th grade. When he fails a test, what's his immediate reaction to me when I get the failing grade at home? What does he say? The teacher's fault. The teacher stinks, right? My teacher was terrible, right? They didn't give us that homework assignment, right? It was, you know, and so it's never his fault. It's always blaming somebody else, right? We do this all the time, right? And it happens in our workplace, it happens at home. And now I have this cute shortcut that I can say to my son. I can say, is that an above the line comment or a below the line comment? And he knows exactly what I mean because he knows that we don't go down here. Because down here is a bad place to be. Look, our attitudes stink down here. So what's the big thing that lives below the line that impacts just virtually every business owner? What's the thing we've been living in the last couple of years that everybody puts and goes down below the line? The economy, that's it, right? The economy is terrible, right? And that's what's stopping everybody's business. Is that impacting everybody's ability to be successful in business? But do we think it is? It's one of the things we do, and everybody uses it. And let me show you how impactful that is or what that does. For example, let me just assume for a minute that this pie represents the entire market share for your business. So if you're in the banking business, this is everybody who has a banking account in the region, right? You're in what business?
Payroll. That's fine.
Payroll, okay, so this is everybody who has a staff, right, that they're paying. And you're in?
Media sales.
I'm sorry?
Media.
Media sales, okay, so this is all the media spend that's going on, right? I mean, all the pets that are getting served, all the real estate getting bought, right? That's it. What's your market share today in the business? What's your market share in the area where you do business? What if I were to draw a line that represented your market share or draw the pie that shows your market share, what would it be?
Nominal.
I would bet that for most of us, and I would probably include myself in that, it might be this. Right? I mean, okay, so I'll give somebody some credit. They might have a little bit. Let's assume it's that. Right? But we have this little market share, that's us. Let's just say let's just give us a number and let's say that's 2%. And there's 98% of the market that we don't have. Now, let's assume that the economy just tanks and the total GDP gets cut in half. Right? Sales across the entire area plummet by 50%. The market share is now half of what it was. What's our market share now?
Still 2%.
Let's say, no, it cuts in half. So what's our market share today? No, because the market fell. Well, I mean, let's say that our business didn't even fall. Let's say we maintained our business, but the total number of the total activity of business shrunk. Right? So ours now becomes 4%. Right? Because if we maintain our position, the rest of it shrinks in half, we still have 4%. There's still 96% of people out there doing business that we don't do business with. Does that make sense? In other words, the market could totally shrink in half, and if we're down here even with 1%, it only moves us to 2%. Right? There's still 98% of the business that's out there that we don't have. Right? Yet we get all wrapped up in the media telling us that the economy's down. So what happens when a storm comes up the coast, up the Gulf Coast, and starts heading towards Houston and Galveston? What does everybody do when that happens? The weather alerts are on, right? Here comes the storm. What's happening?
Like supplies and generators.
Right, you run to Home Depot, right? You buy all the lumber, you buy generators, you stock up on food and that. They're the only ones that really get a kick out of it. Everybody else, they start boarding things up, right? And they do that. What do the looters do when a storm comes into a coastal area?
Their activity increases.
Their activity increases, right? A looter is out there and they say, look, everybody's hunkered down. They're all in these bunkers, right? I'm going to go out and I'm going to take advantage of stuff. And they go out and they start scarfing up all this stuff that's out there, right? They're out in the storm picking it up. So the question is, why don't we, rather than hunker down and kind of get in this bunker mentality, why, when the economy is down, why wouldn't we as business owners behave like looters? And go out and expand our market share while everybody else is saying, oh, I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if the pressure is really hard. Does that make sense? And so, but again, it's all in our head. It's more in our head than it is in the economy. It's the way we end up feeling about it. So we got to get ourselves from being below the line. We got to get above the line. We got to live up here, and that's where we take ownership, where there's accountability, and where we're responsible for the decisions and actions and things that go on. Right? Are things going to be harder in a down economic time to get people to react and respond to you? Absolutely. Are we going to have to work a little harder? No doubt. I'll tell you, the one thing that's been interesting to me, being here in Collin County, is that people here have gone through about a 10-year run of exceptional growth. Why? Because everybody's moving in here, right? You didn't even have to work hard, and business grew. You didn't have to have any processes. You didn't have to have discipline. You didn't have to have specific strategies. You just simply had to open the door, and because more and more people were moving into the area, your business would grow. And over the last several years now, you've had to get much more deliberate, much more determined. You've had to take more responsibility and be more specific about what you're doing, right? But how we approach things, it's about what we put in our head that matters, not about the marketplace. It's less about the marketplace and how we behave. Down here are where the victims live. Victims live below the lines. That's where depression happens. This is where people are just not in a good place mentally, as well as financially. Above the line is where the victors live, because people above the line are gonna succeed, because they're going to look at things a different way, and they're going to look for opportunities, and they're going to take ownership for when things don't go well. Does that make sense? I'm telling you, this is a huge differentiator for people. And one thing I will tell you, if you have people on your team that live down here, what do you have to do? What do you have to do?
Well, try to motivate them if you can.
Right, but don't spend a lot of time on it, right? Because you can't change somebody's personality. If somebody really does think and behave down here, they will bring the entire team down there faster than anything else. It's like putting one drop of red into a clear glass of water. That red just spreads through the entire water. Have you ever seen that happen? Right? And you can't get it out. Once you have it in there, you can't get it out. So you got to cut it out of the business. And we have to do that.